everybody, welcome. And you are 30 today to follow my colleague Remy Rain. Remy is somebody very special in hospitality because he's coming from the bank's environment. And he has a job more to analyze hospitality than he know in depth because he was in charge to know if some project deserve to be financed or not. Then he have a large vision on hospitality in general, and he can go with you to each point and to know also and to understand in which way a banker, an investor, they are looking to your project. You will need a lot in this coming period to know how to reinforce the links with the investor, and that will be the occasion. Then Remy, I see that your first slide to introduce yourself. Please, the floor is yours. Thank you very much, please.
Thank you. So welcome to this session. If you have any question, you can use the chat room. Be careful because you will be able to write on some documents on the slide. So when I will tell you, you can write. You can do the writing. Yeah. Well, I'm more an operation hotel guy than a banker. I've worked for a bank company effectively, overseeing valuation, transaction, and feasibility study. So thank you, Ray, for inviting me to talk about feasibility study. So please ask question, voice your opinion, take back at least one thing for this session, and I hope you will have some fun. So the first thing is to understand what is a component of a feasibility study. Hold on. Do I have a pointer by any chance? Joël, est-ce qu'il y a un pointer? Ah, yeah, yes. No, I think the pen. No. Where is it? Sorry. So, oh, yeah. Got it. I don't know if I do have it. Yeah, I think I got it. Okay, fine. Here I do it. Sorry for that. So the component of hotel feasibility study. So here, typical feasibility study, what a component usually is a mission. So you first always start by the mission because it's very important when you are talking to an owner to precise exactly what he's looking for. When you're going to talk to a banker, same again. So your mission statement is very important, and you define your mission and the limit of your mission. That as well very important because you must ensure that the person doesn't expect things that they won't read. Then naturally, you know that most people didn't read a lot, so you have to do a synthesis of your feasibility study, which will take all the main point of the feasibility study. Then you start with your localization and your accessibility. So you describe where is located the property or the ground where you want to build a hotel, the accessibility to this area. Then you have a description of the existing asset or site, depending what you're going to do, your feasibility study. If you have a urban planning, legal situation, actual usage, if you have tenant situation of the asset. Remember always when you do feasibility study, when you do marketing study, is visit the property is so important. I can tell you a story where people have done feasibility study, invest based on in the feasibility study and never saw the location and found out that, in fact, the location was not a good location for whatever reason. So site inspection is very important. Physical description of the asset, environmental condition. Environmental condition is more and more important. A lot of investors, especially if you are going to talk with German investor, for instance, they are looking for environmental conditions. So they want to know exactly what is the situation on the property. Then you follow your feasibility study by a market analysis. Market analysis starts with your environmental analysis. It's like a funnel, you know, you start big and you go deep into narrow. So you're, oh, sorry for that. Sorry. Okay. It's okay. No problem. Uh, environmental analysis. So you will always start by by the country or even the region, the city, and then you go down to the zone where the location or where the real estate is. Then something important is you're talking to bankers, you're going to talk to investors. Even you're talking about hotel or even hotel investment, they need to know what the real estate market look. So open your eyes not only to hotel, but open it to all the overall spectrum of real estate, especially nowadays, and I will show you that after, that when we're talking about usage of hotel and how people are going to use hotel is so much closer to real estate. So real estate market is very important. Then you look at your tourist market. So you analyze your tourist market, hotel supply, hotel demand. Hotel demand will be based on your occupancy and ADR of the local area, the region, the country. Supply and demand. Your supply and demand analysis is as well very important. And when we're talking about supply, is not only the existing supply, but you have to forecast what the future supply will be. So you got some reports such as Crane report, which are reports that tell you what is going to be built in the area where the hotel is. So what is going to be built within a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. You need to have this vision, long-term vision. Then you have your demand analysis. Then you will do now your ComSet analysis. So your ComSet analysis, you will then select just few hotels that are similar to your hotel or similar to your target market. So that will be your ComSet analysis. You will have to look at your hotel transaction market, especially if you're talking to lenders, to investors. They want to know what's the value of your hotel, and we'll see that after it's part of the feasibility study. But they want to know what the market is. Is it a liquid market? Is it a non-liquid market? What are the cap rate of those market? And so on. So you have to do this analysis as well. And then it's very important to do all the other service market. If your hotel have a restaurant, it's important not just to look at your restaurant within a hotel, but your restaurant, especially if you are looking to attract external guests, you have to look at what are the restaurants around my hotel which are going to compete with my own restaurant. Same if you have a spa, same if you have a golf, and so on. So you don't do only a market study on your hotel, but look as well at all the service of the hotel and as well dig into those market, especially if you are looking to attract local customer. So when you have done your market study, then you will be able to do your recommendation for your hotel. So usually feasibility study most of the time are done on new build construction, when you are planning hotel. But we are going to see that you can use this process in other usage. So based on your market study, based on the location where you are, you can do some recommendation. So you will do a SWOT analysis. Then you are looking at your market positioning and your brand option. Market positioning is very important because it's how you are going to price your service, how you are going to price your hotel, how you're going to position yourself within the market. Brand option, that you have to look at it. And when I'm talking about brand option, there is not only the hotel brand, but you can look at restaurant brand for inside the hotel. Your hotel may have a brand, but may have another brand for the restaurant or for the spa. I mean, in a lot of hotel, you will find out that the spa is branded with another company. So don't limit yourself to only one brand, but to look at every service to see if they need some brand or not. Then you will define your concept, definition, architecture, and the functional programming. Functional programming, what is it? It's you're not an architect, you're not a designer. However, it's important to explain to those people who doesn't know how to run a hotel or to run a restaurant is the flow of customers, the flow of service. What type of flow are you looking? The number of customers you want to have in your restaurant, the number of rooms you need, the type of rooms, the size of room. All those aspects need to be, you need to inform your architect, your designer about it. And that is where you are going to look at it. Based on those recommendations, so now you know that you will have, you are planning based on your market study, a hotel, which will be a upper upscale hotel, for instance, with 2 restaurants, 1 spa, and whatever. Then you can work on your feasibility. Your feasibility always for hotel will work with your occupancy and ADR. So you are going to do a projection of your occupancy and your ADR for your hotel. And you have to do that for the 5 coming years. And when you are doing for the 5 coming years, you have to remember that it's not because you are opening your hotel or opening a restaurant or opening a spa that it will be fully occupied on the first day. You know that. So it will need to have some ramp up period. And ramp up could be very different based on your market analysis. You can look at other hotels. How long does it take to recover? In fact, we are talking about recovering with the COVID, but how it's going to happen when you open a certain property in a certain location. Some property, they need 2 years, basically city center, hotel, good business location. Within 2 to 3 years, you reach your stabilized occupancy and your stabilized ADR. Some resorts will need 5 years. So you have to look at what happened before in other hotel, how long the ramp up was for those ones. Same again for your restaurant, same again for your spa and all your service. And then you do your 10 years profit and loss statement. So you are looking at your cost assumption, staffing level assumption, to be able to do your P&L on your 10 years profit. So then you got your hotel revenue, you got your hotel expense projection, and you can define as well your CapEx program. What I always recommend on a CapEx program is there is first you will do your valuation. Based on your valuation, you will be able to know how much you can spend into CapEx, how much you can invest. And you have to confront that with your architect, who will give you some ideas about the cost of construction, and you have as well some benchmarks. So you have to look at all those and see how you can manage to reach your objective. Then the last part of the feasibility study will be your valuation. Valuation, so you have to define your methodology. So nowadays, most methodologies that are accepted are DCF methodology, and with some comparables to see if you reach the market average. So DCF methodology is the most used in valuation today. There is other methodologies that will come within 5 years based on availability of data. But for the moment, DCF is the one accepted by all bankers, investors. Then you do your valuation scenario. Valuation scenario will be based on different scenario of your profit and loss. Usually, you will do a three type of scenario: best case scenario, normal case scenario, and worst case scenario. So you have to work on 3 type of scenario. And usually the metrics that will change will be occupancy and ADR. And based on that, all the rest will 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 be linked to it. Then you will do your valuation after completion. So the valuation here you do is after completion. So you imagine you have opened the hotel and you do your valuation at the starting the opening of the hotel. And then you got the value of the hotel, and then you can work backwards to find out what the land cost could be and what your capex could be. And that will give you your land value or your asset value, depend if you are buying a real estate asset and you want to transform it into valuation. So that's the component of a hotel feasibility study. So you will understand that within an hour we will not be able to cover all those topics, but it was important for you to understand all the different topics you will find into a hotel feasibility study. Do you have any questions so far?
Okay, just I'll start if the people will start asking specific question for this chapter, to let them just a few seconds to realize what they want to ask or to write on the chat. Then the situation is completely changing. Then what is your opinion as a former banker and working in hospitality industry? In which way that will change this direct situation about investing in hotels?
I
Then
will.
do you think that we'll have
Okay.
better opportunities? Do you think that we have a lot of deals now? Do you think that will be a lot of hotels and land for sales? Or nothing will happen months from here because everybody will be very prudent without doing something or not? What do you think about this?
Okay, so what I think about this is surprisingly, normally when occupancy decrease and ADR decrease, or what you find most of the time is that you have a lot of people who are willing to sell hotel and very few investors. Uh, Actually, what we see is a little bit different. We see that investment fund who have good balance sheets have the ability to buy, and we see a lot of transaction. I mean, a lot. We see few transaction on portfolio. So portfolio transaction are working, I would say, pretty well for the moment. There is some high transaction. I know I've talked with some people. I mean, they are in process of negotiation. So yes, those transactions are happening. Now, the one which I think in transaction are not going to happen or happen less is more individual hotel for individual investors. So that will be certainly slowing down. And the reason it will be slowing down is maybe lack of equity and certainly lack of debt, because bankers are always fears. You know, the worst case scenario is what we are knowing now as hotel which are closed, and that's bring fears to investors. So that in transactions, that's what it will be.
Then do you expect something regarding the price decrease with 20, 30%? Asking Flavia, what do you think about this?
Well, uh, there is two aspects of it. I would say most of the, as you saw, the valuation are based on ADR and occupancy. And so it was not the subject, but I had some shorts otherwise. When you look at the recovery of previous crises, recovery from ADR and occupancy, I would say it will take 2-3 years, depending of each market. Now, if you are looking at recovery of GOP, this is much more longer. We are more looking at a 5-7 years in some case. So definitely it will have an impact on the valuation. Based on that, the valuation will be decreased. So yes, there will be a decrease of price, definitely.
Then regarding this, Adina, she's asking a very tricky question. Usually, as a banker, they are asking a business plan for 10 years or something, okay? Then
Yeah.
how can I do now business plan even for 2 years in this situation? How to deal with the bank? It's already a project is starting and we are dealing with the bank and now nobody knows what will happen in the next few years.
Well, mm, I don't. I mean, you can. I mean, I know we had this question. Uh, I mean, this the COVID crisis is not the first crisis we encounter. I mean, it's the first crisis we encounter in a Euro. I mean, in such a big aspect. But there was previously other crises in the market, and here the crisis is. I mean, there is the demand and the offers. Um, so yeah, you can do projection. You can do projection, and you have a lot of past history to look at projection, and you have also projection done by economists. So you can base yourself on those projection, and then project your ADR and your occupancy. But it's always projection. Then it's stressed on your projection, and that's why the three scenario will be certainly look in depth and as well, what will be more important nowadays is the role of the risk manager. Risk manager are going to be involved in all transaction, in all valuation, definitely.
Larissa Budaka, she's asking, what do you think about the ongoing transaction? What will happen now, in your opinion? Will be a negotiation? And in which direction we are going in the ongoing transaction?
Well, it's as I mentioned to you, it's all depends on what type of transaction. If you are talking portfolio transaction, that is some are already ongoing. Some people are looking. I mean, I know that there is some portfolio transaction on actually, so that is coming on. Individual transaction, same again. I mean, you got opportunistic fund, and you got a lot of opportunistic fund today looking for investing in hotel, but they didn't want to pay. So the question is, you know, it's reaching the demand and the offer. And naturally, people who are willing to sell are not willing to sell at a cheaper price. So it will take 1 or 2 years to stabilize and to meet the demand. However, there will be hotels that are going to bankrupt. Definitely, we have to say that. And in previous histories, those hotels, uh, often if it was the bank who were owning them, they were in a kind of bad bank. And some of the bad bank of the crisis of the 90s, it took them 20 years to sell those hotels, some of them. So that's it.
Okay, now I like to ask somebody from the floor. I see that Chris Michael is with us. He is a consultant with a long experience in investment projects. What do you think about Romania, Don Chris? What is happened now? Can you give us some hints? The transactions are still going on. It was a lot of project in pipeline before the coronavirus, probably something between 30 and 40 projects. What do you think that it's happened? What is happened now, Chris?
So to be honest, I don't know. I don't know personally
No,
Romania
no,
and
no.
Romania
I was
market.
asking. I was asking Chris
However,
Michael.
no, but I can answer part of it. Um, okay, so specifically on Romania, I won't be able to say, but now about new build or in process of new build. A lot of investors will hold it. Now the question will be based on how long could you hold the building permits? In some country, you can hold the building permit for a certain number of years. So investors, if they have the capability to hold on the land and the building at which stage it is on construction, they can hold it for a certain number of years. Some others will try to sell, but then definitely I would say the first will be the best asset, the best location where you had a market, and say had a market, not where you new market today, very difficult. In the investment cycle, what you see always is the first, it's people, investors are looking to resort after they have looked to other investment. That's one of the last investments they are going to it. So usually they go for city center, prime asset, then they will look at suburb assets, and then they will look on the resort assets.
Okay, then
So,
please, can you help us a little bit with the Romanian market? Chris,
sorry,
Chris, just unmute your microphone. Chris Michaels, hello? Chris, do you hear me? Chris Michaels, okay, he raised a hand. Now,
you can speak. Who's speaking?
hello? Chris Michaels. Okay, please.
Yeah, I can hear you, but I am not sure if you hear me.
Yes.
Okay, my question, well, in the same time, is kind of description what is happening now, because you do have a few hotels which are for sale. Is it the right time to sell now when the hotels are closed and the future is not to foreseen? I mean,
You have already answered. If you're
well,
not
I can
confident,
later
if you're
share.
not confident on the future, uh, how can you make
Well,
your investor confident in the future?
and what do you think? Because I have just have heard what you said about well, uh, resort versus city hotels, which are basically oriented to the business market. What do you think? Which will be more interesting to invest? I do believe just now might be a question of having to focus on resorts. Huh? What do you think? Because basically people will not travel, or it will take quite a long time when they will travel to other countries. So there will be more domestic travels.
Absolutely.
And in this respect, I do believe that they have a chance. I mean, the resort hotels. What do you think?
Well,
A
definitely.
better chance.
What I think is definitely the first, as you mentioned, the first market to restart will be the domestic market. So if you look at one of the first transactions post-COVID was Blackstone, who bought Apart Hotel portfolio. Why do they bought Apart Hotel portfolio? Because Apart Hotel is the most sustainable business model post-COVID, I would say. And then the second aspect, when you look at the occupancy and ADR, which hotel are going to recover the fastest are the economy and mid-scale segment. So that's where investors are going to look at as hotel which are economy mid-scale, targeting to local business and business traveler and staycation. That's the two main markets you are going to see, and then they will climb up slowly the ladder.
I see. And what about its hotel having, let's say, all facilities, or just room based? I mean, less intensive in the food and beverage area, which is, it seems, it will be more difficult to adjust to changes.
Well,
I mean, full service
from what
or
I
just
said,
limited?
yeah, I know, I understand your question. From what I said previously, it will imply naturally limited service hotel. That's basically if you are talking about hotel. Now, depending of your revenue structure, Some hotel some hotel have 50% F&B, 50% rooms. So then the F&B component will be maybe more important because the return on the F&B the return of revenue in F&B could be faster than in rooms. So it's all again depending of what type of hotel.
I see.
Okay, Remy, I know that the subject was feasibility study and not investing in hospitality, but if you cannot change the curiosity of people, then they first think they want to. But going
Yeah,
back
no problem.
to your remark, okay, I never saw any feasibility study taking in consideration the worst case scenario crisis.
Yeah,
What do you
but
think about the way to do today? Did we learn something this time? We never learned that in a feasibility study to take into consideration also that these kind of things can happen. What
so
about valuation and what about SWOT and what about all these classical things when something like this is happen?
So first, it's not the first case. It's not the first time we had such a crisis. And I'm going to refer to the 1990 crisis. After the 1990 crisis, a lot of bank has default and mainly a lot of saving banks. Just to take an example of the Pambrief in Germany. Pambrief in Germany and I did valuation for some Pembridge fund, they request worst case scenario, which is Pembridge valuation. And Pembridge valuation for hotel is basically the worst case scenario for a hotel. So it was not effectively, we were not assuming closing of the hotel because in fact the hotel is going to close most of them, except some of them depending again of your relocation. If you are a resort hotel, that maybe could be considered. But if you are city center, the closing of today it will be 3 months, 6 months, but then it will recover. So we were looking at occupancy for 20 years, and we were looking at the lowest occupancy for the 20 years, and we were putting our valuation based on that. So yes, we were already doing worst case valuation, but definitely, I'm sure this is now going to be asked more and more. They will ask you only a single valuation will no more ask anymore.
That I can confirm you what you are saying, Remy, because I spoke with Stephen Rochmore, who creates HVS, probably one of the most important consultancy for valuation, and he creates a manual of valuation. He was saying that he has to go back to work because he retired, because they never had so many clients now asking for valuation and revaluation. And the marketing, at least the market for the consultant is fantastic now.
Absolutely.
In this field. Now, now another relating to this, I have many questions about this. There are also some investors that they are invest in this crisis scenario, crisis period. Then how to do, and now it's coming also from my students that we have a postgraduate with ASE and the EHL. How to do now a feasibility study in this period because they started before the corona and now they have to finish after the corona and everything is changed. What do you advise them to take all these chapters that classical and what to do and how to see each chapter and what to deliver to the client if everything has been changed and they started already before?
So what you sorry, yeah. What was it?
What do you do in such a situation? You started to work for a client, you respect exactly your content on this, and
Yeah.
you've done everything. But the only thing that Corona crisis started, and you deliver after. Then what you have to do is all this study. Then you cut the period and you say, nevertheless, everything but then it's okay because I'm sure that in 2 years the industry will recover, or you do it another way.
No, when you work anyway in Fiji, you are not working for today. You're working for 5 years, 10 years, and most of the case feasibility study, it's not even built hotel. So basically, you're already projecting yourself within 5 years or 3 years the time of construction of hotel. And so there is a lot of assumption. So it won't change. What it will change definitely is, and there is certain aspect, I mean, I did put it here, certain aspect that that are going to, where is it, to change. Here is the question, and that we don't know yet, the impact, is those impact, impact on CSR and air travel. And those impact, we don't know exactly how it's going to be. We know, I mean, we can assume for 1 or 2 years, but what will be the impact in 5 years, 10 years? We don't know exactly yet. Impact on mice, as a lot of population now has used Zoom, WebEx, whatever means. So people are already questioning, should we meet, should we not meet? Everyone agreed that physical encounter is needed, but maybe not all the meetings need to be physical. So definitely there will be an impact on mice. And then there will be impact on F&B and how you are doing. I mean, here I'm showing the buffet. The buffet is certainly something that is going to disappear. So there will be some cost structure to reorganize. However, just to reassure some of your students, where is it? I just want to, where did I put that? Yeah, it was just now, just before getting into this program, I was listening to to an hospitality insight events, and I like Bazin. Bazin was saying, client who will book at your hotel, look for more than a bed and a video, otherwise they will stay at home. So I like this sentence because what does that mean? It means you have to rethink your business. And that's where you have to, that's the added value of the students that are today, because they have been thrown into a bubble bath and a hot bath. They have to rethink the whole business. And that's where you will be, it makes a difference. Rethink.
Then Goran, he's asking you something very precise on Fevi. What's about insurance? What will happen now, all the negotiation with the insurance company?
Okay, with the insurance companies, there is some renegotiation. I mean, one of the major questions from all hotel owners are or hotel operators as a force majeure. And the force majeure is a big question. So if a state state that it's a force majeure, and in your insurance policy, you got a clause for force majeure, okay, you can maybe work on it. But as you may see that states have said restaurants should close, but very few states have said hotels should close. So there is not a force majeure in hotel. Hotel have closed because there was no business. So that's it's a ongoing discussion today, definitely.
Then I'll switch now with a question for the president of Romanian Hotel Association, and Călin Ile. He's with us. The Secretary of State of Tourism, he is also with us. He just left to go to the Prime Minister. Then my question is, you've done a lot of effort, Călin, to see with the government in which way you can set up rules and in which way you can recover. But did you discuss something with the government what to do for the people that they start to invest in hospitality, that they want to invest in hospitality because this is a future, and this we discussed many times. We have a new opportunity in Romania as in Serbia to restart on better condition and to be much more active and not to be seen just as a very new emerging country, but as a country with much more opportunities. It was a subject of discussion about investing in hospitality, or nobody think about in this period?
Thank you, Ray, for your question. Even I'm quite exhausted after the difficult day, because after the meeting with the government, we had a lot of pressure from the media to expose the results of the meeting. Anyhow, we discuss also about investments. So we talked about two line of credits for investment in tourism. There is a line of 300 million euro based on the EU funds to offer grant kind of support for small and medium enterprises in tourism, and there is a line of 700 million to support a different scheme of minimis and something like that to support investment in tourism. And they will also support companies who hire people in this difficult period of time. So in my opinion, it's the perfect time to invest now because you will get support from state by supporting interest for loans and also supporting some costs with the labor. Nevertheless, the stock of rooms in Romanian tourism is still low. We do not have enough properties to cover the potential, the touristical potential of the country. So we need to boost such investment. And being an Accor person, I was pleased to see the appreciation to the Mr. Bazin sent a statement. But Accor is really strong in developing in Romania. The plans are quite impressive. So, in my opinion, the future of Romanian tourism, despite this difficult period of time we pass this, let's say, half year or 1 year, the future of Romanian tourism should be a positive one because there is a huge potential we haven't exploited yet. And some competitive advantages like sustainable Romania, green Romania, could be a positive factor for us to play as a major destination in the future, which was not the case till now, let's be honest. But now it's a disruptive moment for everybody. Every country is like in a Formula One race after a crash. Safety car is on the circuit and everybody starts again. So it's a big potential for us, and thanks for analyzing the investment situation and the possibility. If I may, I have a question for Remy.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I presented a bit the situation with the investment and the discussion with the government. But my personal question: what do you think, for a real estate perspective, they will choose to invest in offices, in residential, or in hotels?
I mean, I'm a hotelier, okay? So I'm BAs. I'm BAs, and I mean, investors, what I know is they don't really understand hotel because they don't have this knowledge of hotel. And unfortunately for us, because a lot of hotel has been closed, so there will be a high fear from them about hotels. I mean, when I was selling hotel, I was always telling the investor, okay, if you got an office building and your tenant is leaving the office building, you got an empty building. When you got an hotel, it never close. Well, now I can't anymore say that. So, so now I'm in a strange situation. However, definitely retail is a huge problem in investment in real estate. Because the retail have completely changed. The model has changed. And what I was saying before COVID, but I think it will be even reinforced after COVID, is office real estate is going to change as well. And the good part is my firm belief is office real estate will be more close to running a hotel versus just getting tenants. So my expectation within the time, but it will take time. It will take 5 to 10 years, maybe, that there won't be any more talk about those because office and hotel will be similar in terms of the way you manage it. So that's the way I see it in the future. But now on the short term, it's a different. On the short term, I think for investors, more easy it is for them, better it is. And
okay, you give us an example, Sebastian Bazin, Kalin, he knows something about Accor because he's managing some brand from Accor. Then Sebastien Bazin, as you know, he launched it 1 year ago, a new project. Then he said about the hotel citizen, that any hotel in the downtown in city, they have to serve for the community, local community. Then the local community try to avoid hotels because they think that it's for tourists. But Bazin, he said you have to make minimum 30% in the top of your turnover using your hotel and opening for the local community. Now, what is very amazing that I saw in Romania, for instance, few hotels, then they offer then the lodging for the nurse and for the medical doctor, but I didn't saw a lot of hotels worldwide to make a reconversion. And in order, because an hotel is very easy to reconvert in a hospital for Christ Hospital, and I saw new beds build it from China to everywhere instead of trying some reconversion for this period of hotels. What do you think that will be in the future? Do you have this new component? Do you interpret it Bazin wish in a different way as being prepared also to do not just what they are currently doing? Or what did you saw something like this or not? Remy, did
Yeah.
you say
Okay.
something?
Yeah. For me, yes, definitely. I mean, hotel and the way we run hotel is certainly the future for office and for home. What is very interesting in this during this COVID, and I just put this slide here is reinvent and look at Ascot, what they were saying, staying with Ascot during COVID. Basically, as why do you stay at home? And when you're looking at people who are staying at home during the COVID, the worst things they had is they were just alone. So now they may consider, you know, should I rent a home or an apartment, or should I rent an hotel apartment with all the service? Same again. Do I work from home or do I work in a place close to home where I can work? So definitely, an hotel is the solution because you have a lot of people have a hotel close to them. So instead of staying in your home, working from home, you can decide just to go to an hotel, to a co-working area. And for instance, you were mentioning Accor. Accor, they got the live work and play, and they got Wojo co-working that they are expanding. I was just seeing recently they just signed a lot of place to with Kojo co-working within hotels. So yeah.
Okay. Any other question from the floor, please? If not, I'll finish with a last question on the same line. Then, because I see Valerio that is in Israel, and I'm Remy. We are in Switzerland. In Switzerland, every house and every hotel is a shelter. In Israel, any hospital and any hotel are prepared for war. Then do you learn something from this? Because it will be not the last crisis. And I think that now that people will forget in few months after and will have a normal life without thinking to this period. What did we learn from this? Maybe Valerio, you can tell us a little bit from your experience in Israel. And Remy, you know about our experience with the shelter in Switzerland that we are back on. Valerio, please. Joel, can you unmute Valerio? Okay, okay, thank you.
Okay, so good afternoon from Tel Aviv. Okay, Israel, like Israel for us, is not so such dramatic. It's another crisis, another small war. But true, never the hotels wasn't closed like now. But now, okay, due the plans slowly be opening, and we really, let's say, trust only that the people will forget pretty soon. So it depends, of course, if it will not be the second wave, etc., etc. But when we analyzing and we see our forecasting, it's pretty optimistic. So even from July, August start to rise, and of course for October, November, seems that everything will be okay. And the hotel, so Kempinski, couple building from us, it's almost finished. The Mandarin just start to build. our property in Jerusalem, it's growing. So let's say the investigations didn't stop, despite the problems with the manpower, etc., etc. But the people here, it's maybe like Ray said, because we had some wars, stuff like this. Let's say the approach, the mentality, the optimistic vision is much developed than different countries. When the crisis, let's say, it's not something yearly.
Thank you very much. Now, a very last question for Amy to finish on the physics. That, as you mentioned, I didn't show in any feasibility also then some investment that will cover, in fact, the crisis. That what I want to say is that the hotel will become much more cost intensive now to add the health part and less revenue. That in which way you are considering now some precaution to take as it's happened in different area, different geographic area when you have some security investment for hotels. Do you see in the feasibility study a chapter for different security for health in the future and taking this in consideration in the investment?
Well, it's funny your question, because as I mentioned, I was just before listening a talk, and it was Mr. Alan Tong from East Orchard. It's a company in Asia, and as they reopened before us and they have implemented all the health and safety procedures, he looked at his balance as its P&L, and then what he told us, the cost of all this increase of safety was only 1,000. So it was Hong Kong dollars per month per property. So apparently not so costly compared to what we thought. So that will be my answer to you. Yes, there will be a cost, but it's not at such a huge cost.
Okay, I see that we don't have any other question. Then Remy, thank you very, very, very much. It was just an introduction. Based on this one, we'll build out the continuation with other webinars. We have to check it. You'll have the possibility to develop each chapter and to show to our friend how to do it, a very good feasibility study to be successful in front of any banks, lender, investor. Thank you very much to everybody. Yes, yes. Yes, it is finished. Yes. I don't see. Remy, do you have something to continue or what?
I had other slides, but it's up to, but you said 1 hour, so you took a lot of questions. So anyway, I did provide the slides, but because what I was covering is, on the feasibility study, what the new questions that you are going to see in the feasibility study based on the COVID. So definitely, what are the markets now? That's one question they will be asked. Other question is when will be the time to reopen? Definitely, that's a question. There is a lot of talk about it. I did provide you in the readings. In some materials, some hint about it, and so that was different things. But we won't have time to cover all this. So
then Joel, it's finished now because we promised an introduction. Then to go in depth in the webinars that what we done till now with Remy, and to go in depth to cover this question for the new series of webinars that we've done on this, because it's a lot of interest in evaluation, in feasibility study, in the way that financially we can manage, in the relation between the real estate and the hotel operation. A lot of very, very important issues, and our friend from hospitality, they want to know more. Then yes, it was 1 hour, and I want to thank you very much to everybody for your participation. We keep our promises, in fact, 45 minutes, not more, but you are based on this chair all the day, and you are doing a lot of things to do for the reopening. Then we'll continue tomorrow. Then as you know, that you'll find on the web, you find already the last interview that I done it with Jean-Claude Biver a few days ago. That it's very fresh. and I will continue to speak with you about the brand rebranding, about the customer experience, and about emotion. And this is extremely important issue to take in consideration that will happen tomorrow. After tomorrow, we'll start my colleague Horatio Tudori with a series of webinars about the revenue management and pricing and costing. And we'll continue like this till Friday. And Friday, we'll discuss about hospitality and health. It's a talk with a very famous medicine doctor in Switzerland and the CEO of Medicover in Romania. Then thank you everybody for following our website and the Facebook. Thank you very much. Thank you, Remy, once again, and see you tomorrow for the people that subscribe for tomorrow or after tomorrow to do it. Thank you and bye-bye.